Hello YouTube, I would like to do something different and do a bit of a comparison from the movie to the book. And what book is that? Well, anything but A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Okay, so the book starts out with Alex introducing his droogs, which is Pete, Georgie, and Dim. Dim being Dim, of course, but that is what happens in the movie too. So, what are the differences between the book and the movie? Well, in the book, it pretty much starts off with Alex and his droogs assaulting a guy who is reading a book. But in the movie, it starts off with him and his droogs beating up some homeless guy who is singing. In chapter 2, he beats up the homeless guy who is singing. And then what happens is pretty much what happens in the movie. A woman sings like a bird just came in the Canova milk bar. But here's a difference that does happen in the book. It's not really a difference, but it kind of does happen in the movie. In the movie, he goes to a record store. Alex goes to a record store and meets two women, and then brings them to his home and has sex with them. In the book, however, he goes to a record store, gets two 10-year-old girls drunk, and has sex with them. Now, in the movie and the book, they both all his droogs decide to steal from an old cat lady's house. But the difference between that part and the movie is that in the book they talk about Alex getting through the window and going into the door to the room that she is in. And Alex sees the statue and looks around the room and says, "Nosy, nosy, nosy, you old skunk guy, you." In the movie, they show the old woman, old cat lady, calling the police, and then Alex comes in and there's a statue right beside him, and the statue is of a penis. Now, in the book, they don't really tell you what the statue is of, but in both the book and the movie, he does use the statue to kill the woman. And Dim betrays Alex right when he gets out of the house and hits him, and then he's pretty much blind right there. So then the cops come and interrogate him. And they tell him that he killed the woman. but he did not mean to kill her. So he goes to jail for 14 years, and he's a 15-year-old in the book. In the book, they do mention he's 15. In the movie, they don't. I'm pretty sure there would be lots of legal issues if they do mention he was 15. But yeah, pretty much he goes to prison. And then he tells the pastor about a treatment that will get him out of prison and make sure he won't get back in. And so he is actually selected for this treatment. And what this treatment is that they show him movies, they show him films of violent things. And in the book, the first film is of a shop that gets burned down. In the movie, it's a guy being beaten up. In the second film, they follow both the book and the movie of a woman receiving in out, which is pretty much sex, rape. I don't know. Now, he then gets out, but someone is in his house, and his parents kick him out. In the movie, he just runs away, pretty much. Now, difference here. In the book, he gets beaten up at the library by some old people who recognize him. In the movie, he gets beaten up by the homeless man who recognized him. But then the police come, and then it turns out to be Billy Boy and Dim. So then they beat him up. He then goes to home. Home is what he needs. And really, that's where he goes, to the writer's house, which I did not mention it. But back during the start, he raped the writer's wife. And stole his stuff, pretty much. And then Alex pretty much recognizes the writer, but of course, since he wore his mask that day, the writer doesn't recognize him. In the movie, the writer recognizes him when he's singing the song Singing in the Rain. But in the book, Alex mentions Dim, and the writer recognizes him. So then they play a little song to make him sick. Because of all the films they showed him, the songs in the background made him sick. So then he decides to snuff it. So he jumps out the window and hits the sidewalk. And then he goes to the hospital. In the movie, there are nurses having a female nurse and a male nurse having sex behind curtains. In the book, a nurse is reading a book, and she's going, and Alex pretty much says you can tell that she's reading about the whole old in out, in out. And then Alex has a dream in the book of him giving the in out to a woman, and everyone's applauding him. And after his dream, his parents showed up, and he insults his mom for crying because Jim, or whatever, I don't remember his name actually, got beaten up by the police. They don't mention that in the movie though. But in the movie, he has that dream actually at the end. And then the minister comes and has a conversation with him while people are taking photographs of it. And then he gets a present of some big stereos. And then he says the whole, I was cured alright. And then that's pretty much the end.